about this to me is that we're in a time where the right is claiming that we live in a banana republic. We live in, a third world country because the president is a convicted felon now. And it's like, no, man, that is, first of all, this country joined the entire Americas when Donald Trump even started running for president. We have a celebrity billionaire. Are you kidding me? But the other thing is that, so-called third world countries, global south countries, because their inflation is so wildly bad, issue these bigger notes, which I think is really funny. So it is almost fitting. We don't need a $500 bill. People don't even use cash anymore. But surely, and this is thanks to being the global hegemon, our economy actually is incredibly strong. And we don't need a $500 bill in circulation because it has not been devalued the way that Gosar thinks. But it is funny that were we to devalue it, Trump's face should be on it because that is sort of like the emblem of a country whose economy's been destroyed and the banana republic that they claim we are.
First of all, this time has been very tough on the store, Banana Republic, which they've been through a lot. But anyway, I wonder how big of a stack of the Trump bills you'd need to make what he owes E. Jean Carroll.
I know.
Or what he owes New York for his fraud case. That would be a lot of his bills. Anyway, Gosar, you sad, creepy little worm. You're just the most pathetic sort of guy. The right loves to talk about how we need men back. Dude, look at your people in politics and media. Yeah, maybe we do need men back because he ain't got any. Anyway, with that said, that's all the time we have for the show. Francesca, as always, pleasure to have you. Where can people see you next?
Hey, see me live Friday tomorrow at youtube.com/FrannyFio or twitch.tv/FrannyFio. Listen to the Bitchuation Room wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, thank you so much, John.
Nice, thank you. We're glad to be able to catch you on a Thursday, and we'll see you next Monday.
Yes, I shan't miss it.
You shan't,
damn it.
Or else. Tomorrow is Friday. We're gonna be throwing away our garbage people of the week. And so it's time to head over to the community tab at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can choose the community garbage person of the week. Brett is gonna be here tomorrow to break it down, all that and more. For now though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day with me, my contributor, none other than Senator Nina Turner, former Ohio State Senator, professor, and senior fellow at Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy. You can always find information, wearesomebody.org. Make sure you support that organization. Always a fascinating breakdown. Top story of the day, hell of a thing. Donald Trump tells Hannity, hey, listen, I didn't say lock her up. They said it, damn it. But he didn't say it like that. That's his inside voice. He's blaming MAGA. So this is now a doubling down of the lie he told just a few days ago that we exposed. I'm going to bring it to you and explain why he's doing this. Here it is.
You pledge to restore equal justice, equal application of our laws, end this practice of weaponization. Is that a promise you're going to make?
You have to do it. But it's awful. Look, I know you want me to say something.
No, I don't want you to say. I'm asking.
But I don't want to look naive.
I don't want
What they've done to the Republican Party, they want to arrest on no crime. They want to arrest the person that won the nomination in a landslide. There was nobody even close in a landslide. The person that got millions of votes, more votes than any other sitting president in history in the last election. The person that won an election that he wasn't expected to win against Hillary Clinton in 2016. They want to arrest that person on no crime. They want to arrest, there was no crime. There was no criminality, there was no crime. And you can go back to all of these legal scholars. They can't believe what's happening. Some of them don't even like me, and they're saying this is a very, very dangerous thing that's happening. No, we can't let this happen. And I will do everything in my power not to let. But there's tremendous criminality here. What they're doing to me, if it's going to continue, we're really not going to have much of a country left. It is weaponization. You call it lawfare, you call it, some people call it just warfare. But it is weaponization of the election. And we're talking about, I think, the most important election in the history of our country. This will go down, I believe, as the most important election in the history of our country. We can't have this stuff go on. Because you know what? When Biden goes out, everyone says bye-bye, and then he gets indicted 2 days later and they go after him. The country doesn't want that.
Correction, sir, a lot of people in the country actually would like you to be in jail. But here's the thing. You continue to misrepresent your lock her up participation. This is baffling because you proudly embraced it at one point, but you continue to double down as if it just happened and you were not a part of it. Here it is.
And you know what? They didn't want it with Hillary Clinton either. I thought it was terrible. You know, I'd make a speech, everyone would say, lock her up, lock her up, lock. And I was at a UFC fight the other night with Dana White, who's a fantastic.
You got a terrible reception.
Yeah,
I did well. I'm kidding.
You better tell them.
I'm kidding. I'm not telling Dana that.
People don't understand sometimes sarcasm.
We played it. It was pretty overwhelming.
It was 25,000 people, whatever they had going. Absolutely. There wasn't a negative. But you know what? What I watched, and it was some of the fighters, two in particular, hated their opponent. And this went on for months. The fight, was broadcast out, and they announced the fight, and the hatred was real. It was the real deal. These people they have a lot of hatred, and they hate it. And then the fight ended, and they're hugging and kissing in the ring. They're down, sitting they're hugging and kissing. It's like nothing happened. Happened on two fights. There were tremendous animosity between the two fighters and the other two fighters. And at the end, that's what happened. And in a certain way, after we won against Hillary, people would say, lock her up, lock her up. And I said, wouldn't it be terrible if I locked up the wife of the President of the United States, former, and locked up the former Secretary of State? It's a terrible thing. You're starting, if you want to bring the country together. I want to bring the country together. And success does bring the country together.
Yeah, I have a whole lot more. So he says, I thought it was terrible. Lock her up. Okay. And then he goes on to say, the people that were fighting, they hated each other. And then they kissed at the end. That's competition. They're prize fighters, sir. involved in a sporting event. Now, here's the thing. The reality is Donald Trump did say lock her up. The reality is Donald Trump tried to get his Department of Justice to arrest political opponents. They simply did not do it. So much so that he tried to get outside help from a foreign nation to arrest, investigate the Bidens. Now, for those who may not remember, here it is.
They all said lock her up, and I felt, and I could have done it, but I felt it would have been a terrible thing. And then this happened to me. And so I may feel differently about it. Hillary Clinton, I didn't say lock her up, but the people would all say lock her up, lock her up. Okay, then we won. And I said pretty openly, I say, all right, come on, just relax, let's go. We gotta make our country great.
So he points at himself and he says, I didn't say lock her up. Yes, you did.
Tell you what, for what she's done, they should lock her up. It's disgraceful. Hillary Clinton has to go to jail, okay? She has to go to jail. You should lock them up. Lock up the Bidens. Lock up Hillary.
He wanted to lock everybody up. The irony is unreal. He ran a campaign on lock her up, lock her up. He's the only one going to jail. He ran a campaign on these individuals are corrupt. These individuals are committing crimes. Sir, a jury of American citizens both indicted you and convicted you of being corrupt, of engaging in criminal activity. And let's get to it. All right, so former President Donald Trump absurdly claimed to Sean Hannity that he thought it was terrible when his rally crowds would start chanting lock her up. Keep that picture up for everybody who is MAGA. This is called him throwing you under the bus. You were there. You were at the events. You were energized by him saying lock her up. He's saying the whole damn thing was your idea. You did it. He didn't want to do it. He thought it was terrible that you all were saying such a thing. Mr. Clutch My Pearls. There's more. Despite evidence to the contrary, he continues to say this, and despite a recent effort to distance himself from them through lying, Trump has freely enjoyed chants of lock her up since the 2016 campaign, which his crowds were still chanting just, last week. In an interview with Fox and Friends on Weekend, he also falsely claimed, Hillary Clinton, I didn't say lock her up, but the people said lock her up, lock her up. Hannity scored an exclusive interview with Trump, to which he devoted Wednesday night's edition of Fox News Channel's Hannity. In one lengthy exchange, remember, Hannity tried several times to get Trump. This was interesting because I actually thought Hannity was attempting to do something halfway decent. He was trying to get Trump to pledge not to exact retribution if he wins, but Trump kept wandering off topic. Eventually, a reluctant Trump said to Hannity, quote, I know you want me to say something so nice, and went into a digression about former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and USC fights. So Trump says what they have done to the Republican Party. Sir, who is they? You talking about the Democratic Party? They're enemies of the Republican Party, sir. They are political adversaries. They're supposed to do things against the Republican Party, but what have you done to the Republican Party? My goodness. I mean, you have done what Democrats could have never done. They will never be able to recover. After you are gone, sir, the Republican Party will take 50, 60, 70 years to figure out their identity because they have none. You took their spine out of their bodies. There's more. So they want to arrest the person that won the nomination in a landslide. He says, there was nobody even close in a landslide. The person that got millions of votes, more votes than any other sitting president in history in the last election. The person that won an election that it wasn't expected to win. Sir, your winning an election has nothing to do with the criminal allegations that are against you, but he would prefer to actually give or get a pass given his, victory in a primary. There's more. He says, no, we cannot let this happen. I will do everything in my power not to let, but there's tremendous criminality here. What they're doing to me, if it's going to continue, we're really not going to have much of a country left, it is weaponization. You call it lawfare. You call it, some people call it just warfare, but it is weaponization of the election. And we're talking about it, I think, the most important election in the history of our country. Fascinating, right? Okay. There's a point that should be echoed very loudly. You see, presidents, according to the Constitution, do not have the authority to arrest anybody. They do not have the constitutional right to put anyone domestically in jail. They do not have that right. They do have a Department of Justice. These dynamics are supposed to remain well separate. Biden is not prosecuting him in Manhattan, New York, Georgia, or anywhere else. As a matter of fact, to the detriment, in my opinion, of his own political campaign, Biden has said very little about the reality of Trump's criminal conviction and remains the institutional president that he is, because Biden still believes there's something sacred about the institution of the presidency. Sir, whatever was sacred about that political office left with the election and entry of Donald Trump. The only thing sacred now are the voters who put you there. You have nothing else sacred left. All right, a whole lot of lies being told here, Senator. And obviously Trump is trying to make a case that he is the guy being the victim and he has no other choice but to arrest them if he gets elected president again.
I want to say I'm surprised, Dr. Richie, but I am not. What is up is down and what is down is up when it comes to former President Donald J. Trump. Don't believe your lying eyes or your lying ears. When the man chanted, lock her up. Oh, Lord have mercy. I swear to you, I want to see Rod Serling from that excellent, excellent series, The Twilight Zone. I wish the brother would just peek on out, Doc. I swear to you. This man is, he's starting to believe, he believes his own lies. He really does. And that's how he's able to try to convince himself first and then try to convince others. It's something, boy, when the legal system is not quite working right for you, privileged white man in America. I wish he had these same sentiments as generations of Black people and poor people across the racial ethnic spectrum have been crying out saying something is wrong with the legal system. But now Donald Trump, he really understands it now.
Yeah, those Black people, they didn't win a Republican primary by a landslide.
That's right.
That's the difference. Okay, all right, we'll bring you updates as they come. So yesterday, we covered a dad who was at a high school graduation, decided to physically assault the Black superintendent because he did not want the Black superintendent to shake the hand of his graduating daughter. I posed a question to you. I said, can you please send me the name of the father, since local press, they don't want to, for protection of the daughter, they said. Well, those are not the rules. Those are not the rules of journalism. Now, I'm not releasing the name of the graduate, but the name of the father. He is on limits, all right? Let me remind you of the incident and give you the identity. Here it is.
Oh. You're not. Excuse me.
That's my daughter.
Where's Brendan?
Man, you better get up off me, man.
Where's Brendan?
Get away from me, bro.
No.
Hey, go, man.
You need to get, hey.
Walk away. You gotta go. Out right now. I don't care. Get off.
That way, Michael. No. Where's Brendan? Whose dad is that?
Brendan's.
Okay. Who's up?
Put up the savage full mass here, okay? The Wisconsin father who blocked his daughter from shaking hands with a Black superintendent, Mr. Rainey Briggs, at Baraboo High School graduation has been identified as 49-year-old Matt Eddy, E-D-D-Y. Ross Story notes the school district has had repeated issues with racism and anti-Semitism. Mr. Eddie was arrested, charged only with disorderly conduct. We talked about that yesterday. Only disorderly conduct after jumping on stage, grabbing the superintendent, dragging him backward during Friday's ceremony. A school resource officer and 2 off-duty officers finally responded to the incident. Initial reports cited the school district on the disorderly conduct charge. Baraboo PD spokesperson Captain Ryan Labroskian confirmed to Time that after an investigation, Mr. Eddie was issued a criminal citation, which was referred to the county district attorney's office. And the captain added that Eddie would have to appear in court. Okay, so looks like he wasn't even taken away, handcuffed, put in the back of a police car. Issued a citation was it. The district also confirmed yesterday that Superintendent Briggs has now filed a restraining order against Mr. Eddie. He should not have to do this. You see, the school system as an organization should have done this. This would have barred him from all property associated with the system itself. So per local court records, a temporary restraining order against Eddie was granted on Monday. So local station News 3 claimed that social media say that the father was angry at the way the district handled bullying issues. Now, this is an update to the original narrative. The original narrative dealt with bureaucracy, policies, decisions about firing teachers that parents, especially Mr. Eddie, would have preferred to remain in play. But now we have the bullying angle being added to the narrative. All right, so the bullying issues related to his daughter. Internet sleuths have since found his employer and are posting on the company's Facebook page, accusing the father of being, racist. School District of Baraboo spokesperson Haley Wagner said in an email statement that, quote, the safety and well-being of our students, staff, and community members is a top priority for the school district. Quote, the school district of Baraboo is taking this incident very seriously and are working closely with law enforcement to ensure a thorough investigation. Wagner said in the statement, quote, our primary focus remains on celebrating the achievements of our graduates. We want to ensure that the significance of this milestone and the hard work of our students are not overshadowed by this unfortunate event. Well, that was Mr. Eddie's fault. He's the individual who decided to ruin that moment for his own daughter. You could see the life force leave out of her body when he did this, because she already knew this was going to be a disaster in the aftermath of it. But see, he did not care. And this was premeditated. It's a graduation. Of course, the superintendent is going to be there. If you felt this strongly about your daughter not shaking the hand of the superintendent in charge of the institution, regardless of whatever issue may be at play, you don't go to the graduation. Your daughter doesn't go to the graduation. Because if you cannot, if you cannot obtain some level of discipline inside of an institution like that, especially on graduation day, sir, disorderly conduct, what? The charge of disorderly conduct, and you physically assaulted a human being in front of children on a stage at a governmental event tells me how everyone, not just you, but everyone feels about that superintendent. And then the superintendent having to file the restraining order himself. This should have been an element that came directly from the system. Put it up full mass. This may give some insight. We've noted Baraboo High School has been the site of controversy in the past. In 2018, a parent posted this photo online showing several then current and former students doing what was called a Nazi salute. The New York Times reported the superintendent at the time said the district was, quote, not in a position to punish the students for their actions because of their First Amendment rights. Put up the superintendent again. Brother, I understand what you're trying to do here, sir. My word of advice, brother, run. All right, Senator. They let the man get physically assaulted, already doing Nazi salutes allegedly and posting them online. He can't even get a reasonable charge levied against the individual who did this. I mean, hell, violence in front of minors is another one they decided not to fix either. But I get his fight. All right, I understand it. He's trying to make a difference and he's a good man. But my goodness, this is significantly enemy territory.
It is, Doc, given the history of that school as you laid out. I mean, it's funny to me the district is saying they could not punish or do anything to those students who allegedly put up the Nazi signs. But I'm old enough to remember some college encampments around this country that were peaceful. And all of a sudden they calling in the police, the SWAT, the National Guard in some cases, with those students exercising their First Amendment rights to protest against war. But I digress. Let me get back to this. First of all, he should have been charged with, Mr. Eddie should have been charged with assault.
That's right.
How did they let him get that close? I mean, I've been to many a graduation. I know you have too.
Yep.
I have never, ever in all of my life seen anything like this. And I mean, I've been in some graduations that were really charged up. They were on 10, but I've never seen anything like that. And then this bullying. Now we know that bullying is a concern in schools all across this country. So I am not making light of this, but riddle me this. If this parent was concerned about bullying, he waits until the graduation,
right,
to display anger or concern. No, sir, that dog don't hunt. It's just something is not adding up for me in this, Doc. What this guy did to Superintendent Briggs was show in a very overt way white privilege, white supremacy, and anti-blackness. Because obviously he felt comfortable enough. See, he wouldn't have did that in the hood. He wouldn't have did that nowhere in neighborhoods that were dominated by Black people or other people of color, marched himself up on that stage and put his hands on that man. See, he knew where he was. Mm-hmm. And as you illustrated the history of the school district, they need to deal with the deep-seated history of this district as well as dealing with this parent. But something's fishy here, Doc, on that bullying.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. And I believe he made not only a calculation, but probably had some conversations before this happened. Because he did not get charged with assault. He did not get charged with battery, violence in front of minors. He got charged with disorderly conduct, received a citation. He didn't even get taken away in a police cruiser.
Right, so he put his hands on that man.
Damn sure did.
Eric Gardner in New York. I mean, I'm just gonna keep on bringing this stuff up because between this parent and Trump, I just don't know. But Eric Gardner was choked out for loose cigarettes. Right. Hadn't put his hands on nobody.
Nobody. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come, guaranteed to be some. So now Trump's Georgia case halted, on hold indefinitely. Put up the picture full mass. Wow. An appeals court has halted the Georgia election interference case against former President Donald Trump and others, while it reviews the lower court's judge's ruling allowing Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis to remain on the case. Now, remember, she had to basically go to trial herself. It was an unbelievable dynamic. I've never seen it before in my life. A DA is put on trial. Didn't even know you could do that during an active prosecution. But they did it. And after they did it, she wins. She overcomes the accusations, which, by the way, were not germane to the rules, which simply said there had to be a conflict. There's no conflict. They're on the same page in a whole lot of ways. That's called congruence. There was no conflict against the defendant, meaning the defendant's rights had no elements of, well, back and forth, cause and effect. There was nothing nothing constitutionally violated. Good. But it embarrassed her. It embarrassed the special prosecutor. Special prosecutor resigns. Great. Judge said this is what has to happen. Defense, they filed an appeal to the judicial ruling. Court of Appeals, well, state of Georgia, they said we're going to put the whole damn thing on hold until we figure out what we want to do here. So the appellate court agreed last month to hear Trump's appeal of Judge McAfee's ruling, a Republican appointee. But the October hearing date means the case will likely not make it to trial before the November election. The Georgia Court of Appeals order on Wednesday prevents Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee from moving forward with pretrial motions as he had planned while the appeal is pending. While it was already unlikely that the case would go to trial before November general election, when Trump is expected to be the Republican nominee for president, this makes that even more certain. The appeals court on Monday docketed the appeals filed by Trump and 8 others and said that, quote, if oral argument is requested and granted, it is tentatively scheduled for October 4th. The court will then have until March to rule, and the losing side will be able to appeal to the Georgia Supreme Court. The Georgia Court of Appeals tentatively set an October 4th date for arguments in an effort by Trump and his allies to have Willis and her office removed from the case. And all 3 judges randomly selected to hear the case. You have Trenton Brown, Benjamin Land, and Todd Merkel. They were appointed all by GOP governors, according to Newsweek. All of this is seemingly extrajudicial. We understand the legal play that's happening here. And they may get, I'm talking about the Trump team, Trump and his criminal surrogates may get exactly what they want. Delay, 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 until there's possibly an election where Trump becomes president again. We hope that doesn't happen. But here's the reality. Everyone knows Donald Trump committed a crime. He committed multiple crimes. As a matter of fact, his co-conspirators, many of them, have already confessed, we committed crimes. Now, they've pleaded guilty. You have to understand the co-conspirators, many of them have pleaded guilty. That also means that they are likely going to testify against Donald Trump and against the other co-conspirators when this goes to trial. Trump can't have that. You see, they're not arguing innocence anymore. They're not arguing about the, constitutionality of what they did. They're arguing process of the prosecutor. They're arguing the prosecution of a former president. They're arguing the weaponization of partisanship inside of a prosecutor's office. These things are not connected to the charges. And let me remind everybody, Bonnie Willis, she indicted nobody. No one. It was a grand jury, once again. So when judges do things like this and when moves are made inside of the legal system that seem contrary to common sense, counterintuitive, they're not saying no to the elected person. They're saying no to the actual citizens who said, yes, this should be prosecuted. All right? Senator, you know they had something up their sleeve as soon as the appeal was filed. What say you?
I sigh deeply on this. Yep. I feel like cursing deeply too. I mean, Trump is a magician, Doc. I don't know no other way to say it. I mean, I used to say the man got more lives than a cat, more than 9, clearly. But now he is taking up magic. I mean, he really knows how to work the system. His people know how to work the system. And it is a delay. Understand this. I certainly believe that Trump is primarily running, well, selfishness is one, but secondarily to run, he thinks this is going to shield him from any legal consequences. Those 2 things, I believe, are the major motivating factors for Mr. Donald J. Trump to run for office. Ego / hubris, and hey, this just might keep me out of jail.
That's right. And the only counterbalance to his political selfishness was actually the Republican National Committee, ironically. They provided some level of challenge to his desire to utilize their budget, et cetera. So what did he do? Well, damn it, he took them over too. No challenge anymore inside of the Republican Party. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked.
My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed, so I won't stop. You won't stop either. All right, welcome back. Got some comments here. I appreciate everyone for joining. Memberships, TYT stands apart, all right? We stand apart from others because, well, you are the lifeblood. You are the oil in the engine, gas in the tank. We want to keep it that way, all right? So you, being a member, makes it happen. We're powered by people. Help us remain accountable only to you. Support us at tyt.com/team today, or just click the join button on YouTube right now. We'd love to have you part of the membership crew. All right, thank you as always. We got a lot of comments. We'll read as many as I can. Progressive Dean SCL, I agree. Cool glasses, Nina. She always got cool glasses. I ain't never seen a sister without cool glasses all the time. And V says, I don't think 45 understands how video recordings work. You see, when you say something that's recorded, dude, you said it. Just admit it. Oh my gosh, his lies are atrocious. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And then both times, right, he's interviewing on Fox News. The first time is two journalists. They don't push back. They know good and damn well he said it. They covered him for a whole year and a half saying it. They don't push back. He said, I never said it. All right. And yeah, Sean, I think this is Muish. Forgive me for pronouncing that incorrect if I did. Some of them. I remember names isn't your strong suit, Donnie, but how about just one name of who these legal scholars are? They aren't Fox News pundits. I agree, Tyler. Tyler Hagner says, I feel terrible for the daughter. Yep. Natural Born Keeler, member for 20 months. Thank you. I love your enthusiasm. I love your engagement. People with your values will be the future. Amen to that. You too. Lady F&T, gift of 5 indisputable memberships. Thank you so much. And Agnostic Sister. Yeah. And they all got slaps on the wrist too. A black woman goes to jail for a decade for voting when she was told she could. But white folks circumventing the will of the people get house arrest, nothing else. Total BS. And these are white males in particular, well-connected politically and rich independently. I guarantee you, if they were, well, not as economically advantaged, this would not be their reality either. Okay, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
A dead Palestinian.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
And you want how many dead?
Yeah.
How many dead you want?
Yeah.
How many?
What?
How many dead?
What? You want us backing up for us? Oh, okay.
We're just gonna have them stay.
No problem.
Which address, please?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you mind to turn around here and then he'll turn around after you? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
185 John.
You.
Why? What did I do?
Muslim.
What did I do to you? What did I do to you?
Nazis, that's what you are.
Nazi kills 40,000 people.
Yeah.
So that's the Israeli that makes them Nazis. That makes the Israeli Nazis. Right?
Oh, okay.
Right? That makes the Israeli Nazis.
God.
All of us?
All of you. Every last Palestinian.
Why?
You're like what? The Middle East.
We are?
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Put him up, full mass. Stop Arab Hate posted this, and the caption reminds us of what this individual said. It says, I hope you all die, every last Palestinian. You're like N-words of the Middle East. Can anyone identify this man in DC? See, this is one of those opportunities where we have reflection as to reality of bias and racism and bigotry and hatred, where adverse policies come from. So the policies that align in our American government and also our international policies abroad, they come from a very similar place. That they don't care about Palestinians, just like they don't care about black people. You see, I'm sanitizing what he was saying. That's what he meant. Like I care about Palestinians like I care about black people here in America. So he makes the comment, I hope you all die, every last Palestinian. You're like N-words of the Middle East. It also means that he is okay with all black people dying in the United States of America as a domestic policy. You got to look at the equivocation here. You see, this is where the adverse policies come from. Don't be confused. These individuals are here in America. They're saying this now in America. And while some may think they're talking about Palestinians, understand they're talking about people of color right here in America. This is their equivocation. So, as the group Stop Arab Hate posted this, I echo their sentiment. Obviously, this should not be. And I want to commend the gentleman for not only keeping his composure, but making a remarkable point. He was called a Nazi. You all are Nazis. What? Wait a minute. Nazis killed a whole lot of people. That means the Israeli government, they're the ones that are Nazis, right? Then compute to the guy, right? He's more like a Nazi than anyone else. All right, Senator Turner, this stuff is so extreme, so sad. What say you?
It is, Doc. I mean, as chilling as what that man said, he spoke a type of truth. He's not the only one that feels that way.
That's right.
And labeling the Palestinians the N-words of the Middle East. That's it. That's how they feel about them. Our federal government, unfortunately, is complicit in it, along with the right-wing government led by Netanyahu. Not only 40,000 people dead, let's talk about the millions who are living in famine right now at this moment. Babies killed, mamas, daddies, everybody over there just dying. 80% of the infrastructure, maybe even more now, has been absolutely destroyed. And so, hey, Doc, this man is just a reflection of what far too, unfortunately, many people like him feel exactly the same way. He just spoke it out loud. And we shouldn't be surprised. You got Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham in South Carolina. We were just talking about him this morning on your radio show, who basically said Israel should do similarly to the Palestinians what we did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We are the only nation on the face of the earth thus far. And I hope we remain that way, the only one to attack another nation with atomic bombs. But Lindsey Graham is celebrating that, said, just go ahead and do it. That man that we just heard is a reflection of that. He's also a reflection of former Governor Nikki Haley, who went to Israel and signed her damn name on a warhead with the words, finish them. So, Doc, that man is a reflection of these people who have held and still continue to hold high office in America, and they're not the only ones. So, hey, we got a lot of Karens and Kens walking around here, and those have power that this man just driving by being a bigot doesn't have.
That's right, well said. All right, well, anti-abortion Canadians cannot handle the heat and sun in, well, Florida. Here it is.
You can take a gun, shoot somebody in the face. It's not hard. Sometimes it might even be fun if they're a godless commie.
Now, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
I hate math. Somebody say amen.
This is what it's like when Canadians show up to harass people outside of a Florida abortion clinic. Not one of them knows what sunscreen is.
Ave Maria, grazie.
You can tell that you have never been this close to the equator before, darling. Whoa. You're gonna end up with sun poisoning. I know that hurts, sweetheart. I want to save your friend from the sun of Florida. Y'all are worried about the fires of hell, and the sun of Florida is literally cooking your friend's feet down there. You're not even gonna put sunscreen on your friend's feet. What the kind of Christian are you? Disturbing. They're all gonna wind up with sun poisoning and heat stroke. You might want to give your friend the sweater because it's her shoulders that are violently burned right now.
Girl's got one tied around her waist.
Your scalp is sunburnt. That's gonna hurt later. And your feet are gonna be sunburned. Yeah. Do you guys not clean your toes?
Canada, you know, y'all made the decision to go to Florida. And I don't besmirch you for peacefully protesting. I don't. All right. You have your right to come from Canada but why Florida though? There are 49 other states. You know, I got to say this. a hell of a way to troll and turn it around. I've never seen anyone do it so flawlessly. It seemed as if she was planning for the Canadians to come. But yeah, she is telling you the truth. Damn it, if you're not covered in some sunscreen, some bad things will happen to you. You all quite pale. All right, Senator, she was trying to look out for him.
I love it. It's called being ready, just in case a moment presents itself.
Right.
You know, I usually say when opportunity knocks, baby, you can't be getting ready. You got to be ready.
Be ready.
Sister was ready for this moment, especially designed for her to come and look out for her, for the fellow Canadians. We don't want them to burn up in the sun. No,
that's right. We don't.
Not in America.
Exactly. All right. Next time, somebody just bring the sunscreen. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. They'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
How in the world are you going to get the right to vote if you don't already have the right to vote? That's impossible. Reason they tell you things are impossible is because they don't want you to try. It only took 7 years for that to get an amendment to get a right to vote.
Does this result in millions upon millions of Americans losing their coverage? And we've been waiting to find out, and now we know, yes, it will cut millions.
Public education was supposed to be the way to equalize everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. But if you come from a family that's poor, how are you going to afford grade school for your kids?
This fight is about fairness and morality. It's about the American values.
You think that black people all across the country, in every city, were all lying when they said the police abuse and the police kill us when they should? No, of course they weren't lying. Yes, it does happen. Yes, they do get targeted more.
Why are we going to put immigrants in prison for 5 years, which American taxpayers have to pay for, if we're so concerned with immigrants using up our so-called resources?
We're gonna do both. We're gonna fight Trump and we're gonna fight the establishment. It's not that hard. Yes, you can do both at the same time. Go tell them.
Tell me about the shirt you're wearing.
Pretty much speaks for itself. What's the penalty for treason? Death. Everything was phenomenal under Donald Trump, and now it's Obama calling the shots right now. It ain't Biden.
So it's Obama calling the shots?
I believe so. None of this would be happening if they hadn't stolen the 2020 election from Trump and we the people.
If you could have an option of 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president, what would you choose?
Donald Trump.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read some of these comments. And yeah, Cyber Gothica. A cop helped carry, nothing new. I saw that too. He was like, hey, buddy, let me just pause you on the racism for a minute. Do you mind just turning around right here? No. I mean, that's how it happened. He was acting like, okay, this isn't happening. I'm not going to address it. No problem. You're just a good, upstanding citizen, needs to move a little bit. And Night Eater says, ran into a Karen yesterday. She couldn't stand how people take their dogs to the park where people are walking down the trail. And so she was upset. I had just gotten out of my car with my dogs. It's kind of what people do, walk their dogs at a park. G. Martinez Mac, Florida is the gift that keeps on giving. That's right. It really is. What would we do without Florida?
Be bored.
I know, right? It's half of our content. Agnostic Sister. Nina needs her own line of glasses. You don't put it in the universe now, Agnostic Sister. Own line of glasses. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you, Agnostic Sister. I'm working on that, by the way.
Oh, that'd be beautiful. All right, you let us know. Okay, we'll make sure we get a bunch of pairs.
Thank you, Doc.
Absolutely. And one more. We have, I think this is IOCAM's Taser L, I believe. Instead of becoming Superman when he gets into a phone booth, he becomes Racist Man when he gets into a car. He even had his signature red shirt on. Sure did. Sure did. All right. Very sad, very wicked news. Israel airstrike on United Nations run school kills 40 people. Here it is.
The Israeli military claimed it targeted Hamas militants operating in the school, but provided no evidence to back up its claim. UNRWA schools across Gaza have functioned as shelters for displaced Palestinians since the start of Israel's war on Gaza. Last week, Israeli airstrikes hit close to an UNRWA facility in the southern city of Rafah, where tens of thousands had sought shelter, setting tents ablaze and killing at least 45 people. For more, we're joined by UNRWA spokesperson Tamara Al-Rafai. Israeli military spokesperson Peter Lerner said Israel intentionally targeted the school and wrote, quote, "We assessed that 20 to 30 terrorists were in the compound at the time of the strike. We targeted precision strikes on the specific classrooms. What were the terrorists doing in a UN school? The compound was used for staging attacks and as a forward operating base," end quote.
We hear about this every time a strike kills scores of civilians in or near our buildings. International law is clear. International humanitarian law calls for the protection of civilians, of people, of women, of children. During this conflict, the UN has paid the highest toll ever in such a short period. Since the beginning of this war, Gazans have been issued what the Israeli government calls evacuation orders. In reality, these are orders for forced displacement. But mostly there was nowhere safe because strikes continues, aerial bombing continued. So there was nowhere safe. There still is nowhere safe.
Everywhere they go to seek shelter, even in the areas that the government of Israel said are safe zones. We reported on that too. And they ended up being roundup zones. Easy kill. Precision attacks, dropping a bomb precisely on the class that you believe these individuals are in. Does that make sense to anybody? Of course not. No intelligence, no information, no direct propaganda showing anything like that actually was present. Just the word of the government. Per Democracy Now!, an Israeli airstrike on a UN school in central Gaza has killed at least 40 people. That number may increase, including 14 children, 9 women. That's according to local authorities. Nearly 80 Palestinians were also wounded in Thursday's pre-dawn strike that hit the Al-Sardi school. The United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees is the organization. The IDF alleged on X, posting this aerial surveillance photo. It was a, quote, precise strike on a Hamas compound, end quote, inside the school, but provided no evidence whatsoever to back up the claim. The Israeli military also stated steps were taken to, quote, reduce the risk of harming uninvolved civilians during the strike. Now, I want to pose this question because I know people will automatically take the side of the Israeli government when the citizens of Israel, they don't believe in the Israeli government based on polling data. They do not believe in Netanyahu. They believe that he's a liar. They believe he is a corrupt leader. The majority of them do. So this is about the Israeli government. Now, let me be very clear for those who want to defend this action and say things like, well, they had no choice. They have to go after these terrorists, Doc. They say that so you can buy it. If Hamas was in Israel, if Hamas was hiding in Israel, would Netanyahu indiscriminately kill Israelis in order to get to Hamas? Of course not. Of course not. Would not even be a consideration. Wait a minute, what if Hamas was in America? Would Netanyahu be able to partner with the American government and kill American citizens and say we calculated the amount of casualties that were unrelated to Hamas? Of course not. They're simply saying to you, they don't give a damn about these children. They don't give a damn about these women. They don't give a damn about these elderly people who are continually killed, and they are not combat soldiers. They are not involved in this war. They are in the middle of a conflict that's simply brought to them. A school ran by the United Nations. The man already has been called a war criminal, basically by the UN. All right, so the IDF, the UNRWA stated on X that the school sheltered 6,000 displaced people, was hit without warning. The UN commissioner called claims of armed groups inside the shelter shocking but unverified and condemned the extent of attacks on UN buildings as a, quote, blatant disregard of international humanitarian law, end quote. He noted that since the Israel-Hamas conflict began last fall, over 180 of their buildings, the UN buildings, have been hit, and more than 450 refugees killed. Meanwhile, United Nations agencies warned Wednesday that over 1 million Palestinians in Gaza could experience the highest level of starvation by the middle of next month. The World Food Program and the Food and Agriculture Organization said in a joint report that hunger is worsening because of heavy restrictions on humanitarian access and the collapse of the local food system in a nearly 8-month war. Put up the destruction again. This is not causation. Some will say this is cause and effect of war. It's unfortunate. This is an intentional starvation of 1 million souls. Because if they cared about making sure that civilians had at least some level of protection, why restrict the American Red Cross? Why restrict international aid? Why restrict individuals who would never lift a finger to hurt anybody, but are willing to be true heroes, go to the region and try to help. Why? Because you want them to die. And you want them to starve to death if you cannot bomb them. That's why. Israeli military says it has allowed hundreds of trucks to enter through the Kerem Shalom in recent weeks, but the United Nations says it is often unable to retrieve the aid because of the security situation. It says distribution within Gaza is also severely hampered by ongoing fighting, the breakdown of law and order, and other Israeli restrictions. See, they are creating the policies to produce the effect that you see. And at the end of this, regardless of how it happens, starvation, bombing, lack of access to medical care, they're not concerned about that. They just want dead bodies. There's more. Integrated food security phase connection. Classification. The World Authority on Determining Extent of Hunger Crisis said March that around 677,000 people in Gaza were experiencing phase 5 hunger, the highest level and equivalent to famine. The 2 UN agencies said that that figure could climb to more than 1 million, nearly half of Gaza's total population of 2.3 million by the middle of next month. On Tuesday, a separate group of experts said it's possible that famine is underway in northern Gaza, but that the war and the restrictions on humanitarian access, once again, Israeli government policy, have impeded and the data collection to prove it. Furthermore, radical Israeli settlers expanded their attacks on aid trucks passing through the West Bank in May, blocking food from reaching Gaza as humanitarian groups warn that the enclave is sinking deeper into famine. Groups of settler youths are tailing relief convoys, setting up checkpoints and interrogating drivers. In some cases, far-right attackers have ransacked and burned trucks and beaten Palestinian drivers, leaving at least 2 hospitalized. The assaults use a web of publicly accessible WhatsApp groups to track the truckers and coordinate attacks, providing a window into their activities, working off what they say are tips from Israeli soldiers and police. In addition to the public, members pour over photos to work out which vehicles might be carrying aid to Gaza and mobilize local supporters to block them. There's more.
איזה יופי זה. זה מה שקורה למי שמביא אוכל לחמאס. קח אותו, קח אותו.
We come here in the morning and we made sure that the settlers won't be able to block the road. The settlers were in the Tarkumia junction. We got there and made the police push them away. Then they blocked another junction. We came here just when they start attacking the trucks. By our help, the settlers were removed from the trucks and the trucks was able to go forward to Gaza.
Happy I'm here, doing what I can. I wish more people were here and we would be able to prevent this instead of fixing what is done.
Real heroes out there trying to do right. Put up the graphic, reported impact. Per the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, 36,586 Palestinians reported killed, 83,074 reported injured, displaced 1.7 million. These numbers may be wholly underrepresented given the lack of continual and accessible data. All right, Senator Turner, thoughts?
Those numbers are underrepresented, Doc. And I'm gonna tell you, anybody who could look at this and think this is okay, it's something wrong with them. America is complicit. This Biden administration is complicit in partnering with, because it is our money. I want Americans to understand this. This ain't just some any old place in the world. United States tax dollars are being used. Our bombs are being used to kill Palestinians in the Gaza. And that is why we should have a whole bunch to say. And the fact that this president, that there is no daylight, it pains me to say it. And I know it's gonna pain some folks to hear it, but there is so for all those anti-Trumper folks, there is no daylight between President Joseph R. Biden and former President Donald J. Trump on how they would comport themselves on dealing with the crimes against humanity at the hands of the right-wing government of Netanyahu. And Doc, you laid it out straight. Most Jewish people, most Israelis, they not rolling with this. So those outliers you see in those right-wing settlers trying to stop food from coming in, and don't say they bordering on famine. The people who are still alive are living in famine right now. The safe zones have become killing fields, Doc. And I believe that Netanyahu is taking out revenge on the UN for calling him out for his crimes. And that's why he's bombing those places. And Doc, let me breaking news here. The NAACP, the national NAACP, has called on the United States of America to stop sending weapons over there. Understand what's happening here. Jewish Voices of Peace, another group of our sisters and brothers standing up for our sisters and brothers, family and friends in the Gaza. But the NAACP, and this is what they said, that they say it's one thing to call for a ceasefire. It is another to take the measures necessary to work towards liberation for all. NAACP urges the Biden and Harris administration to stop weapon shipments to Israel and push for a ceasefire. People are over it. The AME Church, as you know, Doc, the African Methodist Episcopal bishops have called for a ceasefire even months ago. Folks are mounting up, Doc. They sick of this. Now, believe your lying eyes on this one. And then, Doc, your point, because I had to scratch that off my notes. If, in fact, Hamas was suspected to be in the United States of America, hell, I think Biden would let them kill Americans. I really do. The way he allowing them to comport themselves. And for those who say he can't do anything with Israel, the hell he can't. He carries the big stick, meaning the United States of America, our tax dollars and our weapons. So he can tell Mr. Netanyahu, no more on my watch, you ain't getting another dime. And he'll get some act right real quick. But this president is playing games, Doc. And you guess what? Who's gonna pay for it? Israel owes reparations to the Palestinian people. When all is said and done, who gonna fix what they have broken?
Everything.
Israel owes that money. But this country is complicit under the leadership of President Joseph R. Biden. Now, people might not want to hear that, Doc, but those are the facts. They don't have to listen to Sister Senator Turner. Just look at the facts.
And the fact is also this: over 80% plus of Democrats.
Yes.
Democrats, Americans, wait a minute. There's something wrong with this picture. You see, Trump is actually holding or adhering to a policy that a whole lot of his people believe in, but Biden, on the other hand, he is adhering to a policy that we do not believe in. And that is a betrayal to the political trust. Remember, there is nothing sacred about that institution. The only thing that is sacred was us who put you there, the voters who put you there, sir.
All right. And Doc, I know we gotta go to break, but international law. So what's gonna happen when an enemy of the United States comports themselves in the same way that Israel is doing right now? We have no grounds.
That's right, hypocrisy galore though, right? All right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Take a stay.
I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm at a Wolfpack gathering.
We're growing. I see faces that I recognize, but I also see a lot of faces that I don't recognize, and that's fantastic.
We are all taking time out of our lives to be here, and that's amazing. That means we truly believe in this. Make no mistake, everyone in this room is a leader in a Wolfpack.
Alaska, West Virginia, Montana, Georgia, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, everyone is here. All these folks paid with their own money and sometimes took vacation days to come here to strategize on how to get our democracy back and get money out of politics.
Or you get more political power just because you have more money. This is why it requires a constitutional amendment.
The process of winning in your state next year doesn't begin when session begins. It begins right now.
To work to a goal, something this big that you're actually making a difference of, there's very few things in the world that really compare to that feeling.
Equal rights to fair representation, rights for human beings, anti-corruption laws, and free and fair elections. That's what we are fighting for.
What were the founding fathers? Revolutionaries. And they built revolution into the document.
So Article 5 is the way we have to go.
This is how you do it.
You're in this as a team, you're in this together. The fight will always continue.
That fight is not between the left and the right. That fight is between basically greed and humanity.
So I'm asking you to put differences aside, whether you're conservative or independent or progressive, to join forces to say no more corruption.
You get beyond the fear, you take that first step, and you'll change the world.
What I want to leave you with, of course, is hope. And I want to assure you that if we keep fighting together, we're going to win together. We're going to get that convention, we're going to get that amendment, and we're going to get our democracy back. Come join us, wolf-pac.com.
Sharp increase in healthcare insurance premiums next year in response to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic.
The country is desperate for Medicare for all, but the mainstream media will tell you nonstop lies about how people don't want it.
Between 5.8 million and 23 million lost their healthcare just during this pandemic. And Joe Biden says, no, I don't think that's an argument for Medicare for all.
How are you going to find $35 trillion?
They constantly misstate things, but without explaining that the current system costs at least $50 trillion. Every other developed nation has a single payer system, and they all pay less. In fact, on average, they pay about half of what we pay.
It doesn't matter if taxes go up if your healthcare costs go way, way down.
The for-profit health insurance companies are simply a scam, price gouging you, and they're in between you and your doctor.
Look, guys, the good news is we're gonna win. We're gonna get Medicare for all.
A famous new author has a book out. His name is Dogan Uger. That's my dad. Okay, the name of the book is called The Original Young Turk, and it's his life story. I read it, trust me, you're gonna love it. He has such a straightforward way of telling stories that you're gonna be amused by it. It's like, well, then I met JFK, then I was at the White House, then I started a business, then I became Businessman of the Year. It's amazing. You're gonna love the stories, and it's part of what made me progressive. Check it out at shoptyt.com.
You would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one. You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said no, other than day one.
By locking up his enemies, by breaking all the rules, the courts, yeah, right, them and what army?
This country needs a dictator. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
It's the truth from the Young Turks. Americans saying they want a dictator.
I'd rather have Donald Trump as a dictator for 4 years. I'm going dictator Trump for sure.
How crazy will his supporters go?
I'm going to be a dictator for one day.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read some of these comments. Really good points here. I think this is Solivy_Dragon says, hold up, 6,000 people in this building. And there was no warning that a strike was coming. This is blatantly manslaughter or murder. That's right. That's right. Jojo_Dragon, doctor, I thought Mossad was one of the best trained. Why can't they perform a raid on those schools where they say Hamas is operating out of instead of just bombing the building? It's a remarkable point. Every time, that's a remarkable point. And Otis Heckle says, since when is killing children defending yourself? Yeah, that's right. All right, and Twitch. Yeah. Fiddlinero is not a war, it's not even a conflict, it's a siege. It is. All right, so You know, the story we brought you about the guy with a suspended license, driving on the suspended license. And then there was another story that said, well, you know, his license was supposed to be restored. So he updated the story. And then there's another update. He goes to court, he gets arrested again. Because the judge says, you never have had a license in your life, son. Now at this point, damn it. Can somebody get this man an honorary license? This is getting out of hand. All right, at first it was like, hey man, you made a mistake. You had a day in jail. All right, you know, you're driving on Zoom. We get it. Judge had to order you to go ahead and pack it up for today. But at this point, some other institutions, I believe, could have done better by this brother. Let me remind you of what happened. Here it is.
Assistant Public Defender Natalie Tate for Mr. Harris, who should be present, is due.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
Wait. You stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
All right. What are we doing?
Your Honor, we are respectfully requesting an adjournment in this matter, up possibly 2 to 4 weeks if the court would allow.
So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving. And he didn't have a license.
Is with the charges, Your Honor, yes.
No, I'm looking at his
Yes.
record. He doesn't have a license. He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
I don't even know why he would do that. So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is to turn himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
See, that was the time I would have said driving. No, sir, that's that new background app I'm trying. Looks like I'm driving. But he didn't. He told the truth. All right, turned himself in. He had to do the right thing here. So Judge Simpson ordered him to, hey, you got to come back to the jail and go through this process again. So he did. All right. And now there's an update. He does what he's supposed to do. He gets out. All right. He gets an attorney. He goes to the court to handle the suspension issue, driving while suspended. And another revelation hits. Not only does a judge say, hey, this man has never had a license ever. So the privilege to have a license is what the penalty was. It wasn't suspension in the traditional sense because he did not have one. And he had a current warrant for his arrest while at the courtroom, which means he probably should have used Zoom again. All right, here it is.
Counsel, you probably didn't know this, and I wasn't sure where the prosecutor was going to bring. He's got a warrant.
No, I did not know.
Yes, he has a warrant for his arrest. A bench warrant out of Ellen Park. Mr. Allen.
24th District Court.
Okay.
The shocking thing about it is for a driving while license suspended that he didn't take care of.
Okay. Well, like I said, he wants to handle.
So what it is that, and it's a valid warrant. I happen to be within their radius of pickup. Now, having said that, I don't know if they will pick him up.
Okay.
I will say that what should have happened, I'm not going to go through and try to figure out whether it did happen. But when he was arrested when he turned himself in on my revocation of bond, upon being released, he should have been apprised, warned, and released to go take care of it. I don't know whether he was. I really don't care whether he was or not. All I know is that was back at mid-May, and it hasn't been taken care of. And it's still valid. I was hoping maybe that somebody was going to try and take care of it, because I'm sure if you had known, they would have been done.
You see, now we're getting into institutional failure here, all right? So he has another situation. Obviously, if you are arrested again, contact with law enforcement, warrant comes up. These warrants, let's be clear, these are not warrants for violent crimes or anything like that. We're talking about driving. The man gonna keep a car, he's gonna drive, all right? He's driving. He gets pulled over. He gets a ticket, citation, and possibly an arrest. So you have to deal with this. So the attorney representing him, she obviously did not do the background, all right? Which is pretty normative. You need to do that so you understand what's happening. To the judge's credit, Judge Simpson, right before that clip played that I showed you, the prosecutor said, "Judge, I need to approach the bench, and I'm gonna need your bailiff, okay?" And the judge said, "I already know." You see, the judge wasn't gonna say anything. I need you to hear me. Because he says, I wasn't, he kind of stopped himself. He said, "But I didn't, the prosecutor brought it up." And I thought that was pretty righteous of the judge, because the judge is not there, it's the prosecutor. If the prosecutor missed it, they missed it. The judge wasn't gonna bring it up, but the prosecutor did not miss it, and thus it was part of the judicial record. There's more.
Part of the reason I'm also doing this is because I think he was warned and released, didn't take care of it. And secondly, this has been out there for 9 years.
Well, I did not know about it, Your Honor. Okay.
Counsel, there is not a doubt in my mind that that's true. I no, you did not. I go to the bank on that one in a minute, because I know you would have taken care of it.
Yes.
All right.
It's going to be taken care of today. His wife is here, and it will be taken care of. So I will absolutely call your office tomorrow to see call the court to see the status of it. Oh, we're going to take care of this.
All right.
Okay, that's what we're going to do.
We'll see you in August.
I mean, the bailiff standing behind the man like he's about to run out the courtroom, All right, this is just getting too much. Mr. Corey Harris, let's put up the picture full mass here. I'm rooting for you, sir, and that somehow the universe is going to reward you greatly. You are a good man. You are a good man. I've read the report of how you're active in your community. You are a God-fearing man. You're active in your church. You are a husband. You are a good man. We got to get the license situated, but you're a good man. This does not determine your character. I promise you that, all right? So Corey Harris, the Michigan man who became an internet meme for attending a Zoom court hearing from behind the wheel without a license, according to the judicial record, has never actually owned a driver's license. So Harris, 44, spent 2 days in jail for the original incident. Then in an interview with WXYZ-TV, he claimed he had, quote, no idea his license was still suspended during the now viral May 15th hearing. But the judge overseeing the case dropped the bombshell in a Wednesday court hearing. Harris has actually never owned a license. Quote, he has never had a license ever. And he has never had a license in any of the other 49 states or commonwealths that make up this country. Okay, that is the county district judge. His name is J. Cedric Simpson. Quote, the way I know that he's never had a license is because on May 3rd, 1999, he was 19 at the time. He applied for his first Michigan ID. He has religiously every year gotten a new ID. And so he knows that he doesn't have a license. Now, let me break down the law. In Michigan, you're not allowed to have a state ID and a state license. So that was the point he was making, okay? All right, so the case against Harris stems from his arrest during a traffic stop in October 2023. He was cited for driving with a suspended license. Court records indicate that Harris's license privileges were suspended in 2010. So suspended license privileges is the difference or distinction between the two, okay? So due to unpaid child support was the original underlying offense. When they suspended his license, they don't suspend the license, they suspend the privilege to drive in the state. Hence, if he had a Kentucky license, he would have been allowed to drive anywhere that Kentucky allowed him to drive. He just couldn't drive in Michigan because his privileges had been restricted in Michigan. Simpson explained, a judge lifted the suspension in 2022, but the lift never went into effect with the Secretary of State's office because Harris never paid a license clearance fee to the court, according to the judge. In his TV interview, Harris said he thought the clearance was taken care of already. He said he was never told he had to pay a fee 2 years, a fee 2 years ago, and that he only recently received the clearance paperwork this year. However, he blamed the courts and the state for not correcting his paperwork. Simpson asserted that Harris's errors that comprised Harris's statements, made it appear that the court and state officials made errors that comprised Harris's record, compromised his record, and when Harris was the one who was actually obligated to take the steps to get his license privileges back. Quote, his falsehoods and misstatements are not going to fare him very well. The one thing I don't like is when people don't take responsibility for what they've done, Simpson said. The person that needed to be blamed is the person that he was staring at in the mirror. Just own it. Once you own it, becomes a whole lot easier to move forward, all right? So I want to say this. I don't want to adjudicate the guy. He may have authentically been confused about the process. Seems to be quite bureaucratical to me. But I will say this, 2 things happened institutionally that should not have happened. Number one, when he had contact with the court, contact with law enforcement, especially when his bond was revoked temporarily, they should have told him, you have an active warrant in this jurisdiction. They got 25 hours to pick you up. They don't pick you up, you get to go home. But at least he would have had knowledge of it and not blindsided by this new appearance in court. Number 2, I don't want to be critical of legal counsel, but I have to say this. Legal counsel should have, absolutely, did a background check on your driving record to be fully holistically prepared to give a proper defense if something else came up. Those 2 dynamics did not happen for you, sir, and they should have. All right, Harris's attorney, Ms. Webster Cox, who accompanied Harris for his WXYZ interview, said she was stunned when Judge Simpson revealed that her client never owned a license. Quote, I hadn't done any research to go back. I didn't go back to 1999 to see about his Michigan state ID. All of that was shocking to me, absolutely shocking. It should not be. You're the representative. You're the advocate for this man. And it has become a high profile case. Come on now, all right? Let's reason together here. The man's gone through enough. State law dictates that Michigan residents cannot own both state ID and a state license. There was no error by anybody, quote. There was no error by anybody. It was a failure on the part of Mr. Harris to do certain things, Simpson said. The attorney, Webster Cox, said she would work with her client to correct the issue. Quote, I just want him to have a license, Simpson said. During the nearly 30-minute hearing, Simpson revealed that Harris also had a bench warrant for driving with a suspended license, so the bailiff escorted him to jail. Simpson said he would issue Harris a nominal bond the following day if he isn't released. The attorney assured the judge that her client would do what it took to get his affairs in order and added that he has a permit test next week. Harris just paid the reinstatement fee last week, according to the judge. Harris's next court hearing is August 7th, according to Fox 2 Detroit. Now, damn it, August 7th, dear brother, you're going to have a license, brother. You can obviously drive, sir. Okay, because nobody's talking about you got into a wreck or accident, hit somebody. So you can obviously operate a vehicle, and you do. So let's go ahead and get this license thing situated. Senator, thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm rooting for the brother too. I think is a little bit of all the above. Bureaucracy can be very suffocating to people who don't understand it and don't understand the law. And sometimes that's by design. That's number one. Yeah. Number two, I never understood why states, even my state, did this at one time. You suspending people's license for child support when they need to work. It don't make a whole lot of sense.
So
we need to find Doc. We need to find another way to penalize people, or let's flip it, to make sure that they're doing what is necessary to provide financial support for their children. Suspending their license and stopping them from being able to provide support is not one of them. It's just absolutely asinine. And thirdly, Doc, in the era of AI, I would have just told the judge it was artificial intelligence, Judge.
That's right.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was AI.
I'm Shaggy. Wasn't me. All right, Senator, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Well, Doc, it's always good to be with you. They can reach me on Twitter at Nina Turner, Nina Turner, Ohio on the gram. And please visit my organization. We Are Somebody, a capacity building organization for the working class at wearesomebody.org.
So thankful for the continued leadership and work you do on behalf of everybody. Thank you, dear sister.
Thank you, Doc.
All right, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of this planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.